Spiritual growth, how to. Sounds like a real simple thing. Thank you guys for being here. All three of you so far. It usually gets bigger later on, but no matter. No matter. Spiritual growth sounds really simple. Sounds like something that happens, but though it's simple, it is not always easy. And sometimes you could be spiritually growing and you just don't see it, feel it, it's there, it's happening. But often, because we don't know what it looks like, we don't know that it's spiritual growth, but it is. So we're going to get through, tonight we're going to talk about spiritual growth, how to spiritually grow, how to know that you're growing, and some of the growing pains that go along with it. That if you don't know what they look like, you can misconstrue and misinterpret them for something else. So tonight's live is going to be really interesting because we'll talk about some things that, it's unless you get certain books or you're really, really looking for it, you won't find information like this. It's there. It's not as if I'm the only one that has a monopoly on it. No. But what often happens, I'll bring up a subject, Spirit will bring up a subject, and many people might not even have thought of it until they see it, and they go, I would like to know what that is. So we're going to start here shortly, talking about spiritual growth, the anatomy of spiritual growth, and how you can continue your journey. And when you feel like you're stuck or you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going through this thing again, I can break it down as to why it's important. Or you might feel like, oh my God, I'm down in the dumps again, or da-da-da-da. And it might seem a bit topsy-turvy in your spiritual process. I'll explain why that is sometimes, and how to decipher it, diagnose it, so that you know exactly where you are and you change your mindset and attitude towards the thing that you're looking at, because that's all the difference in the world. If you know the process, if you know a process, then when certain things happen, you don't get out of, you don't get your knickers in a knot, because you go, oh yeah, that's supposed to happen. Yeah. When I put my foot on the brakes, the car's supposed to stop. Yeah. I'm not panicking because my foot's on the brake and the car's stopping. Because that's a normal process of driving a car. Right? So, we're going to discuss that tonight. Welcome. Also, for those of you just coming, you can ask questions at any time. And this is a big deal, spiritual growth. And I know it's a big deal as far as what it looks like and things that people go through, because I'm a spiritual mentor, a spiritual coach and teacher, and these are the things that I see people who I work with go through. So if they're going through it, so is a whole lot of other people, right? And it's all good because we're all here for each other. There are 12 of you here, and I'm going to get started, but I'm going to start with the spiritual awakening process, right? Which many of you have experienced, maybe some of you are going through right now. And I want you to know that it's a great, great process, a wonderful experience, even though it might be so tough for you. I'll tell you why it's tough. And after this live, if you stick around, it might quicken the process for you, because it's tough because of the things that we do, the things that we hold on to. That's what makes the spiritual awakening process hard and a complete difficulty for some. And they look at the process as being the problem. So it's good to know what the process should be like, so that you can know that if you're going through a spiritual awakening right now, or a second or third, because you're always spiritually awakening to yourself. And the spiritual awakening process that leads me into this is nothing other than you becoming aware of yourself. I say awakening because that's what most of us are used to hearing. But the process is actually awareness. It's actually awareness. Right? So when you become spiritually aware to the point where you start seeing the reality for what it is, instead of seeing it as how others painted it. And so when you spiritually awaken, it simply means you begin to realize more of who you are. And then the minute that realization comes, you begin to see how everything around you, from the world that you've just woken up from and into yourself, you begin to see the misalignments. And everything is glaringly obvious to you as to what's going on, whereas before it wasn't. Because you were fast asleep, believing everything. Believing that all this stuff is real. And it's real, all right. It's a real illusion. A lot of people say, oh, it's not real, it's an illusion. The illusion is real. You have a name for it. It exists. Let's not be silly and play games. This illusion is an existence, but we have a choice between it and another reality. You see, when you were fast asleep and unaware, you thought this was everything. This was the real thing. This is the real world. We even have that term, oh, in the real world. And it's ironic because what we refer to as the real world is actually not the real world. It's the illusion. It's the fake world. It's not who we are. Of all the realities that we are in, this is the one that is false. What do I mean by that? Most people, and I'll get into the awakening process and then the spiritual growth process. Most people only experience one, I shouldn't say most. Many people only experience one reality, this one. Because the other two that most should always experience have been taken from them. The other reality that we should be experiencing is the dream reality. It's not just a dream, my friends. It is another reality. And you learn a lot in that reality. Your subconscious mind brings a lot to you during that time. That's the second reality. And most people do only live in those two. Then you have those who can also access the realm of visions. And by the way, when I say dream, I'm also including the astral realm, because I just want to make this clear. The astral realm and the dream realm are not the same. Most nightmares don't occur in the dream realm. They occur in the astral realm. What's the difference between dreams and astraling? Are they the same? No, they're not. The dream realm, let's start with the astral realm is the counterpart to this realm, the physical realm, the realm that we wake up and go to work and go to school and yada, yada, yada. It is the counterpart to this realm. And it is a real place. And it's not exactly like this one, but when you're in it, everything is solid and looks just like everything else. There's that realm, and it has levels. On the lower levels, that's where you meet a lot of beings who are parasites. A lot of people doing dirty things to other people. And evil things to other people, to be exact. And that's where the nightmares occur. And then as you go into the upper realms, astral realm, that's where you can create manifestations and things. And none of this is witchcraft, okay? This is you delving into the other aspects of creation that you are supposed to. It's your birthright. But the venturing into the astral realm is not something we are educated about. We're not educated about that realm. we're taught, it's quite peculiar how we're taught to astral travel and all of that. And I don't know if any one of you have taken any astral travel courses or books. Please tell me if you have, because I just don't want to say stuff. I want to ask you. That way it's a co-creative effort, and then people can see that what I'm saying is not just pulled out of just nowhere. So if anybody here has had any courses in astral travel, or even if you are an astral traveler, please come on in, because then this will enrich the discussion we're having. Or you've taken a course or anything of that nature. Right? Because most of the time, people who teach how to astral travel, they don't teach about the actual realm itself and the different levels there, and where you want to go and where you don't want to go. And so my recommendation is, if you learn how to astral travel, do not get involved, and you don't know anything about the realm. I'm not going to tell you not to do anything, because that seldom works. But if you do, just fly around and do not get entangled or involved in any of the games going on over there. This is the astral realm I'm talking about. This realm is outside of you, which leads me to what's inside of you, which is the dream realm. The dream realm is the creation of your subconscious mind. It's your creation. And the subconscious mind often communicates with us in that realm, in the way that it communicates. And there are rules there. There are rules in the different realms. The rule in the dream realm is you are the creator of the reality in the dream realm. And normally there are not a lot of people there. And you can do things like fly and jump off of a building and nothing happens. You don't get hurt. Da 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 da. All of that is really happening. And that realm is more real than this one. That realm is more real than this one. Because you're creating it. This one is being created by all the minds here. And you don't know what's coming out of some of them. And the astral realm is there. It is a reality like ours, which, by the way, we created. Everything you see around, we created. The universal mother and father birthed us. The mother birthed us and gave us the ability to create everything here. Yes. And because you are such a great creator, you are the jealousy of many other beings, many of which want you to bend the knee to them, telling you that they created you. Because they're jealous of you and your mom and your dad. The universal creators. The mother in particular created this universe with us. If you look at it, it's feminine. This planet is a feminine planet. So it is dominated in its creation by the feminine, which does not exclude the masculine. We're just see, when you wake up and you become aware, you see things as they are, not how they're painted for you by other people. When you look at the planet, feminine. When you look at the universe, feminine. Does not exclude the masculine. For it is true that everyone has both of them within, in different proportions. And there's only masculine and feminine. Nothing else. When you talk about the law of gender. So when you know that law, then you won't be deceived by... Notice I said that the dream realm is realer than this realm. Because you got so many fallacy, made-up shit going on in this realm. Much of it is just a bunch of nonsense. Not in alignment with the true reality. Which is nowhere else but within you. And so when you begin to wake up... become more aware of who you are, you start to wake up to yourself in which the real reality exists. And then you start emanating and bringing out that reality. Thank you, JC. They teach us female comes from male rib. Yeah, the Christians and the Abrahamic religions. Yeah, and that does not make any sense, because everywhere else, and I'm glad you brought that up, Miss Angie. Everywhere else, we see how everyone comes here. Every animal, every insect, every human, everything. How do we come here? But we see this evidence every single day. We see this evidence. We believe in a fairy tale. Every one of us that believe that shit knows where we came from. You came here through 9 months of darkness in your mother's womb, filled with water. Sounds familiar? When this planet was created, what was it created from? What was there? Darkness and water. Through the mother's womb, darkness and water. And she nursed you and then birthed you straight from out of that womb through her vagina and into the world. Everybody knows this, but all of a sudden we turn real stupid when it comes to that fairy tale. Man comes from the rib of a woman comes from the rib of a man. You know, when you hold a lot of these fallacies or these fairy tales to just simple common sense, you start to laugh. That's why I'm laughing. Unconscious collective, Carl Jung, or was it Sigmund Freud? No, when it comes to the collective consciousness and that kind of stuff, that's Carl Jung. That's not Freud. The collective consciousness, inner child, all that stuff. A lot of the stuff that we talk about in the spiritual community, Carl Jung first wrote it. That man died in 1961. And the psychiatric, or let's just call it the mental health community with all the things in it, they haven't done a damn thing worthwhile since, because they've been taken over by the pharmaceutical companies. You can't name me one great psychoanalyst or psychologist or psychiatrist that's in the same rank as that man. He died in 1961. He died in 1961. You go, Super. There still are grace. Can you give me one right now? In authority? No, I don't work in the mental health industry and I don't have to. I just know that they're owned by the pharmaceutical companies and they must do as they're told. And I'm sure, since you know so much, you're very well familiar with something called the... I'll come up with the name in a second. But they must treat everyone according to how they're told. It's a system of care, and they must follow those guidelines, even if they have the wisdom of the knowledge and the knowledge to do better. No, you need to answer my question first. All right? Because all I know is when I went to the mental health industry, all they wanted to do is medicate me. And look at how many they medicate. And I want you to look at how sick we are mentally. For example, here in the United States, with all these advanced mental health professionals. No, it's not called clinical protocol. It's not called that. Vivacious. But thank you for your help. Thank you for your help. No, I'm not answering that question about Can you examine the evidence and name one who's owned by the pharmaceutical company? Everybody knows that if you go to these places, all they want to do is medicate you. And if you come with anything too strange, they give you a diagnosis which will hinder you for the rest of your life if you have that on your record. They must follow the protocol set for them by the pharmaceutical companies and those who own the medical industry, because it's for profit. Has nothing to do with any kind of health, mental, physical, or otherwise. So I move on to a much more important conversation. So when you move into your spiritual awakening and you become more aware, you start to see things as they are. You start to see things as they are. And that is what I call, believe it or not, enlightenment, you see, because so many people have these far-fetched ideas about things that they're seeing in this world and may see things often without awareness based on how they were taught, based on how they grew up. And it may not have anything to do with what is actually happening. When you become spiritually awakened, you start seeing things just as they are. No fantasies, nobody else's opinion. You start seeing them for what they are. And that is important because you start making better quality decisions. Your decisions now become a little more conscious because they are based on what is actually happening. They're based on what is actually happening. And so the results of some of that is shock. Because all this stuff that was happening before you all along. Hey, Energy Flow, thanks for being here. All that stuff that's been happening all along, you just start noticing. Before, it was right over your head. It was right over your head. And then you'll have people, once you start realizing and say, oh, this is... Then you'll have people that, like the person who was just here earlier, I think JC booted her out or booted him out. That's fine, JC. Thank you. Then they try to convince you otherwise. Then they try to ask you, well, what's the evidence and where's the science and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And those of you who know me know I've already gone through that. The science is owned by governments and corporations. Most of the evidence is hidden away by intellectual property laws. So they just tell you what they want you to believe. Blind and you were not depressed. Yeah, but that's what they diagnose you with because they're trying to sell. Because basically our doctors and our mental health professionals, most of them have to be drug dealers. And a lot of them, they have to be drug dealers. And a lot of them didn't get into the industry for that. They got into it to help people. But $150,000, $200,000 later, they got to do what they're told because they got that college debt. They got a family. They got bills to pay. Car payments. So they go, I got no choice. I got to march to the beat of their drum. But initially, most of them ain't getting into it for that. Most people I talk to, young folks that want to be doctors, for example. Why do you want to be a doctor? I want to help people. I want to heal people. I want to change people's lives and change the way we do things. And then, after that $200,000-$300,000 debt, they are made to change their tune. So I'm not saying that these people are all bad people. They're in a system that forces them to do exactly what the system wants done. So these are the types that will come to you and try to make you feel like seem like you're crazy when you start seeing things the way that they are. Oh, what kind of evidence do you have? And they try to gaslight you, which is exactly what that person was trying to do earlier and that JC gave the boot to. Right? They try to gaslight you with their so-called education, thinking that you're silly and stupid when you're seeing the reality, and they're the ones that are blind as hell. They're the ones that are the slaves to what's going on. But you still gotta get on them. You still gotta let them know that, you ain't all that. You are part of the problem. And they are. I don't care. The dead I talked about, I don't care. They are part of the problem. It is the scientists that has made the weapons of mass destruction. They could decide not to do that and walk away. But to let the system grip them. It is them that are making you GMO foods that your body can't even handle. It is them that are coming up with the pharmaceutical poisons that they want us to take. It is them. So I don't let them off so easy. So when you start to see this, people like that with their degrees, and even those without, because I'm not just going to pick on them, even those without, they come to you and they want you to look at you like you're crazy. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? This reality is a false. Have you touched it? You're standing on the ground, aren't you? What's false about that? And you must know this. You don't have to justify your awakening process and the growth of your awareness to anyone. Most of the time, you just walk away from those fools. Okay? Because their idea of what you're supposed to be is actually a part of them, not a part of you at all. Not a part of you at all. And I saw this thing one time, this is just the other day. All those people that you thought were criticizing you and all of this stuff, a generation from now, 3 generations, they'll be dead. And you'll be alive. And a lot of them, when you leave them a few months down the line, they even forgot they had a conversation with you. Don't let them impact you in any way whatsoever. Because what's going on within them is theirs. Even the way they feel or think about you. It's all them. And when you dare to change, you force them to have to look at themselves. And they don't want to do that. You see? They don't want to do that. They don't want to look at themselves. So when you become something different, it forces them to look at themselves. That's not your problem. Your problem is you're not your only business is this, yourself. Let them deal with their own business. But they'll want to bring that off and put it off on you. And then you just say, nah, see you later. Yeah, I know how you feel. Fantastic. You need to deal with your own stuff. I'm dealing with mine. Because you're not here to deal with anybody else's stuff or anybody else's feelings or anybody else's experience. You're only here for your own experiences. Right? And don't let them triflings get to you. On the other hand, as I said to someone today that I was working with, how you feel and perceive them is also you. So this is a way to also do some self-analysis and reflection. How you feel about them has to do with what's going on within you. And that's a good way to kind of, okay. what is inside of me that has this, do I want this? The way I feel about them, do I want this? You know? And because, see, this reality is very sneaky. Very sneaky. It's an entity and its job is to stay alive at all costs. Very sneaky. So you back away from them, but then you make a judgment about them and you think it's them, just like they thought their judgments on you was you. So what you want to do is be aware of your thoughts of them. Not because you want to be a doormat or you don't want to think a certain way about them. Nope. They are who they are. But because you want to make sure that there isn't anything hiding and sneaking behind that. Creating a blind spot for you. Right? Creating a blind spot. So you just be aware of that for you. Not for them. You're here for you. And once you develop yourself to a certain point, then you can be there for you and then include other people, the right people, not just everyone. But if you develop and grow spiritually, you'll be the people who you're here for will start to come and you'll be able to see them. And you'll be able to see the parasites too amongst them. And you just flick them away and you deal with those who are going to be like you, but in their own way. You see what I mean? They're going to be like you, working on themselves and becoming enlightened and becoming, just by changing who they are and becoming who they are here to be, they transform the world just by doing that. That's what I mean by people like you. Because we don't want clones. We're not clones of each other. And the spiritual awakening process is definitely not about that. Thank you, Miss Nikki. Good to have you here. The spiritual awakening process is definitely not about making clones. We are our own individuals as a part of a collective oneness. And unity consciousness has plenty of room for that imagination and creativity and what you personally bring to the table, whilst at the same time embracing oneness. Oneness. See, that's a beautiful thing. And if you don't understand it, just know that oneness isn't the same as sameness. Oneness is simply we're all a part of the great one, but in our own way, with our own individual talents, with our own individual contributions to the great one. Don't confuse oneness with hive-mindedness, where if you know what one thinks, you know what they all think. And that is the issue with many who have taken technology and have advanced and completely sacrificed their spiritual growth. I'm talking about other beings. Some of us call, for example, I use one kind of being, the grays. People call these the gray aliens. They're advanced technologically, but they're not really that advanced technologically. Because if you throw away your spiritual advance in the spiritual side, which is the infinite side of who you are, and you sacrifice that for intelligence and technology, just sheer intelligence and technology, you will technologically go very, very, very fast. But you create technologies that are destructive. And then you get to a certain point where you can no longer technologically advance. Because once you reach a certain level of technology, you cannot go further without the equivalent raise in consciousness. And once you reach that barrier and you cannot advance anymore or grow as a being, you start to devolve and go extinct. That is why when you spiritually awaken, it is so important for the collective of a species. Because even if a few of those species, members of that species decide to forget and forego their spiritual process. The ones that do will raise the species to the next level. So as a species, we become more advanced consciously and technologically. And those within our species that choose that route, they get to choose that route. But then they're going to get stuck. And that is what humanity is avoiding right now with our spiritual awakening. And we can see that some of what I've just said is true, because the ones that are driving our technology, many of them, the ones that are the technology that we know about, there are lots of technology out here that are driven and created by those of us who are conscious, but those technologies are not as out front as the technologies made by those who are unconscious, right? Because we see the problems. For example, those headphones that are wireless, in no time, people who use them are coming up with brain tumors. Technology that's harmful. The cell phone. If you open every new cell phone and you look at the warning in there, they'll tell, oh no, it's just conspiracy theory. But when you buy a new cell phone, you read the instructions. You'll find a warning. Why is it there if it's conspiracy theory? So this is what I mean by creating technology with low consciousness. When you spiritually awaken, you're bringing that consciousness up. And you are bringing the species up. So that once a critical mass is reached of certain people being raising their levels of consciousness, then the species can evolve. It doesn't require everyone. Just a certain amount. Just a certain amount. And that's why this process is so important. So when you spiritually awakened, why is it sometimes a pain in the ass for a lot of people? Why? Right? Right. And the reason is, when we come to the realization that what we spent so much time, energy, and effort in is a bunch of BS, it's a hard pill to swallow. And so many of us can't accept that we spent 20 years going to college, becoming highly educated, successful by all societal standards, and then we realize that it has done nothing to satisfy the emptiness that they told us it would satisfy. So we jump to religion, and it doesn't work. And so we realize the game. And we are in shock and disbelief. And so we don't want to believe what we have come to realize. So we want to hang on a little longer. And the more we hang on, the more we see, the more we see, and the more we become aware, the more painful it seems. And then we start seeing both the negative and the positive, but expanded. And it puts some of us into a state of depression and grief. It is the hanging on to the old that causes that. It is the hanging on to the old that causes us to be in longer through the dark night of the soul than we need to be. When we go, okay, so what's next? Then the other stuff can hold on, because this is a free will existence that we're in. The illusion is free will. And if we want to hold on to it, nothing can violate that desire or that choice. When we do this, what's next? Then we're asking, what's next? Then Spirit can bring in what's next and usher you through that much quicker. Usher you through that process. And for those who go, oh my God, I'm glad. I thought all this stuff was real. They go right up because they're ready to get out of there. Right? They're ready to go. You know, they're not worried about how much time, energy, effort they invested, you know. And maybe if I just hold on a little longer, things will change, that kind of deal. And that brings in suffering. That brings in pain, because it never does. It just gets worse. Because as your awareness, one of the, I wouldn't say a pitfall of awareness is supposed to give us the ability to make better decisions. But if our awareness increases and we still make decisions in line with when we weren't aware, that's when it becomes painful. Because you can quickly see that it's not going to work because you're leaving a false reality. You were lied to. You were tricked and fooled. And once you know that, there's no dressing up that trickery. You got to move on to the next thing. You got to move on to the next thing. And so that's what makes the spiritual awakening process tough, just to summarize. When we still look back at the old reality and wish that it wasn't so. And so we're trying to find any reasons over there to validate that one little shred of desire that says, I wish it wasn't so.